What am I to do?
Welcome to He Said, She Said Razor Branding Podcast with Michael Russo and Jaci Russo. To learn more about how to improve your brand, visit brandRUSSO.com.
Michael, I'm concerned after this episode that you are now thinking about doing some online dating.
No, actually, it's quite the opposite. It makes me glad that I don't have to do online dating.
Okay, good. That's how I felt too. I was like, I think Zach is brilliant. Zach Schleien is our guest. You're going to hear from him in a minute. He's done some incredible things to improve the online dating scene. I am glad to be married.
Yeah, and I think, in case you're already clicking off this episode and listening and saying, what does that have to do with anything? I think the correlation was basically, because we talked about that, how even in business engagements, we're always dating, we're always matchmaking, we're always trying to find the perfect client, they're trying to find the perfect agency, you're trying to find the perfect vendor. It's always a search. And there is a dating process to all of that where you have to get to know somebody.
Yeah, it's a matchmaking process. And that's one of the things that Zach has done so well is he's not just relying on the algorithm. They have human matchmakers and video dating. And I think it's brilliant, not just for the dating app that he works with and has developed, but for humans to think about how are we using Zoom in our business meetings to get to know each other or working remotely to build culture at our companies. It's all about connection with others.
I mean, think about it. We dated back then and they had video conferencing and we met online. Let's say Melissa set us up, well, she did set us up, but she didn't
I
set
was
us
gonna say
up.
we had our first blind date in person.
Yes, but what if it was a video conference? Would it have gotten past that video call? Because
No, you're not very good on video.
I would have
No.
been in some hellish apartment. You would have
Yes.
been busy and not focused, and that would have annoyed me.
Yes.
You would have been doing other things. I'd be like, okay,
Yes.
I can't deal with that. So that probably wouldn't have worked. So that wouldn't have worked for us.
Yeah. Oh, I'll add that to the list of things. And yet here we are 27 years later and it's working
Well,
so
that's
far.
what I'm saying. That the human factor is important,
Right.
and because again, would I have been my true self with that on video, and would you have been your true self? And that's the thing I think that's important because in any time you can present what you want the world to see, but is that really who you are?
What I think Zach makes a great point, and we'll let the people hear from him in just a minute, that the video is a more honest depiction of your real self than a profile that you write or a photo that's been filtered. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you're a manipulator and you can manipulate everything.
Well,
I mean, I could have this clean environment, and then behind me there's trash everywhere. I mean, I'm not
you're
showing
going to
you
show
my.
the best side of yourself, but I think you
Yeah.
get more real from video than you get from other things.
Oh,
So
I would agree. I would agree.
why don't we let Zach tell us about it?
Let's do it.
To do when the day is through.
Zach, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Now, Michael often accuses me of startling people with that introduction. Were you startled?
No.
No.
Well,
See, it was safe.
I prepped him for it, and he had a pause, and he said, "How do I respond to this?" And then he jumped right in. So I appreciate that.
I think it's fine. Zach, I'm excited to have you on the show. I'm not in the dating market anymore. I've been hitched for quite some time now. And it's changed a lot since the olden times when, Mike and I would have conversations in America Online message chats. So tell me what the new world of dating is like.
Yeah, I mean, dating apps are still very prevalent in the in dating industry.
Right.
In-person events have definitely increased as well as more people kind of yearn for face-to-face connection. And now matchmaking is definitely growing as well.
That's awesome. So, talk to me a little bit about the brand building around that. It feels like, from an app perspective, there are certain preconceived notions and some work you've got to do to build the brand online. How do you balance that with the offline, in person events that y'all are now doing, which I think is brilliant, by the way?
Yeah, so just take a step back. So
Sure.
I used to run a dating company called Filteroff where we did a lot of video speed dating events and a lot of in-person events. We were then acquired by a larger dating conglomerate called Spark Networks, who owns a number of dating apps where their focus primarily is online. And now they've also incorporated human matchmaking, which was something that we offered at Filteroff on all their apps as well.
Right. No, I love that. And so the Spark Networks is a pretty big one, right? I mean, y'all have a number of different entities in that umbrella.
Yeah. So we have JDate, JSwipe, Christian Mingle, Elite Singles, Silver Singles, Zeus, and then our app, which was Filter Off, which is now called Spark.
Right. That's impressive. Um, from a branding perspective, we are always harping on our clients. Harping seems mean, but I think that's what it sounds like to them sometimes about the need to segment the audiences. And so when I hear of the different organizations in your banner, I think, man, y'all are doing it right. And I wonder, does it make it harder or easier to have it segmented from the beginning in the app, or should it just be a filter where you just filter out people that would be a good fit?
Well, these sites started long back.
Yes.
I mean, obviously now there's like larger, very large dating apps like Hinge, which you could filter, but there is something special about having being on an app that's like niche and brand specific. So if you are Jewish or Christian and you join like a J Swipe, a JD, or a Christian Mingle, it is a different experience than let's say joining Hinge.
Right. And so what's been the process like for building those brands and establishing messaging and, what's the marketing approach? How do you get people to have awareness and sign up?
Yeah, I mean, I could speak more about like what we did at Filter Off
Yeah.
to grow it. I mean, at Filter Off, it was really the focus when we first launched in 2019. So it was right before the pandemic, was really just helping people connect over video versus just stay in their messages and never actually meeting. So
Oh,
really wanted to create that experience, like a really authentic connection and give them an opportunity to be face to face. So we launched Filter Off with that in mind. Then we started rolling out virtual speed dating events for different communities that want to host events. And then eventually we layered in human matchmaking to provide a more efficient experience and where your matchmaker also sets you up on these video introductions as well.
okay. I love that. Is video introduction special to you, or is everybody doing that? Am I just so far behind the times?
It's actually quite unique. What's
Yeah.
really cool now at Spark Networks for let's say JDate matchmaking, when you do get a matchmaker, you are set up on these 10-minute video introductions. So it is unique. It's very unique in the matchmaking field. We're definitely pioneers in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
That is awesome. What was the catalyst for that? Like, who said at the meeting, hey, let's turn it into Zoom dates to start? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, when I launched Filter Off with my co-founder at the time, Brian, I mean, I that was like the area that excited me the most, which was like video dates. That was really the premise of our app. He loved the tech side, so we teamed up. And then the pandemic happened. So it was good timing in terms of like people were at home and we just took off. Like we got covered by the New York Times, the BBC around this premise that you could date safely from home, and that's how it really like supercharged this company.
Right.
Well, thinking about all that too, and I'm just curious, a little backdraft. So you said it was Filter Off was acquired. What are you doing today? Are you still with that company running it, or you've moved on to something else?
Yeah, I'm the general manager of matchmaking for Spark Networks, so manage
Gotcha.
matchmaking for across all their brands.
Gotcha. But I was curious, because I think there was for our business in general, I think the world, obviously, when the pandemic hit, because of the Zoom calls and being online and talking and having those conversations. And for our business, Jack and I both worked in bigger markets, but when we relocated to Louisiana, we struggled at first to really get our name in the room sometimes because we were out of market. We weren't in a big city. We weren't in Chicago. We weren't in New York. And that really kind of changed the game around 2020 because now all of a sudden everybody was comfortable with meeting outside of the boardroom. And I would compare what she talks about every day to dating. We date businesses every day, or we're feeling each other out. We're having these conversations. We are in these communities where you're meeting for the first time. There's the first time awkwardness and nervousness and introducing yourself, and then getting you maybe have a follow up. There's a second date. So I'm surprised there hasn't been somebody that's put together some kind of a corporate dating app where for businesses to date and get to know each other and find the right fit, because that's kind of what we're doing already in a weird way.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's definitely an efficient experience. You don't have to travel. But there is something nice. I think it's a great like first step. And then to deepen the relationship, obviously, it is nice to then eventually meet up in person.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we like I said, eventually, if we're looking at to land a client, we have an initial fly up and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
But have those introductory calls and conversations. It's just it kind of is a game changer in our world. But I
totally.
think for everybody, it is to be able to get online. It's the kind of thing as me as a kid, I'm older than you, obviously, but as a kid, that was the dream, or the fantasy of the future where you had video calls and somebody would call into your kitchen and say, "Hey, it's dad," that kind of thing. But that's all happening, and it happened relatively quickly. It feels like all of a sudden it was like, okay, we're thrown into this futuristic approach, even though it seems every day right now. It is pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a good first step for human connection.
Michael used to watch a lot of Jetsons when he was a kid.
I
So,
did. I did.
and
I
yet,
like that show.
but I mean,
Yeah.
but you're scared of the robots coming to our house. But
Well,
why
I
is
think
that?
we're moving kind of fast, but I would like to put the brakes on a little bit, but it seems like the cat's out of the bag now. So
Yes,
we'll see
flying
what
cars are
happens.
next. Flying cars. No, it'll be great. So Zach, tell me, what are some of the marketing challenges that you face, whether it's, the complication of being a house of brands like you are, because you've got so many different entities that you're working with, or for each of the individual platforms, what do you run into of the challenges that just kind of frustrate you?
That frustrate me.
Yes.
It's a good question. Well, I'm not like responsible on the marketing side, but like I could talk about like from a filter off
Yeah.
perspective when I was running that company. I mean, dating space is hard because it's not just like if you acquire a user in New York and also acquire a user in California, like not everyone is open to long distance. So it's a very interesting challenge. But then let's say you acquire two users in New York and one's 25 and one's 65, also not a fit. So there's so many like preferences to bring people together, whether it's proximity or values or religion or politics. So it just gets very challenging. And that's why dating apps are definitely a difficult business. And that's also why matchmaking is so valuable because a matchmaker can like validate that they're a good fit for you. So that was like really one of the reasons to introduce human matchmaking at Filter Off. And now it's across all our brands just to give you that like to hone in on like who's a good fit for you because it's hard out there.
Right. Do you find that people, because I'm making this comparison, because Michael made the point earlier, and so this entire rest of the conversation, this is the two things happening in my head at the same time, which is the human matchmaking you do and how much it's comparable to marketing in the business matchmaking that every business does and trying to find a good client for themselves. So to that end, do you find that the struggle is knowing what you want and that actually being what you want, or do you have to do your own kind of authentic check-in with who you are and who's a good match for you?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, how do you portray yourself? Because I go back to
Yeah.
the movie Singles from the '90s. I don't know if you've seen that, Zach,
We
but
sound so old in this
I
entire
know, I
conversation.
know,
I just
but
need you to know that.
you should go watch it because I think it was the dawn of dating apps because there was a scene in there where they're putting up their profiles and it was a big deal in the Seattle area, and it was so horrible because they were totally not who they were. They were
Yeah.
trying to put their best self forward versus who they really were, and I think everybody does that to some extent, especially on social media. And the honesty behind that, how do you expect to have a good match if you're not being honest with who you are?
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of video. You can't really get behind the filter. Um, However, I think what's interesting, let's say about matchmaking, is it's not uncommon for someone to go on a video date from their matchmaker and then the person responding afterwards, like, I would have never swiped right on this person. So a lot of times people, I think it's normal to have these like laundry lists of things that they want in a person. But that's why you hire a professional, whether it's a matchmaker, but let's say you're hiring a nutritionist because you want to lose weight, or you're gonna hire a trainer to get more in shape. Like you're delegating tasks that either A, you don't know how to do yourself, or B, you want to just like not think about it. So, and they're like you're gonna hope that they're a professional at the end of the day and do something of your best interest. And that's what's really valuable about matchmaking. You can kind of, they will see things that like maybe are a blind spot for yourself.
Absolutely. How do you help them with that? I mean, you talk about like the live in-person matchmaker, and it makes me think about, olden times when people actually did matchmaking. I know it still happens a little bit now, but it was definitely even more prevalent way back. And so, what tools do y'all put in place to help with that? Is that something that y'all focus on?
So, I mean, basically how it works is once a customer joins our matchmaking service, the matchmaker will have like an introductory call with them, like face to face over like a Zoom. And then most of their correspondence is done like over text, or they'll provide some coaching like over Zoom. And then the matchmaker is then reaching out to people on their behalf, interviewing people on their behalf, and then setting them up on these video dates. So a lot of it's like, well, all of it's virtual. But and a lot of it is not face to face, but they're doing a lot of like ops work in the background, like interviewing people on your behalf. So all you need to do is just like relax and just get set up on these dates.
I love that.
And the audience that you're after, these are serious contenders, right? These are people looking for the real thing. They're looking to get married. They're not just, swiping and looking for a date on Saturday. They're looking for the one, right?
Yeah. Anyone who's going to, because matchmaking traditionally is very, very expensive and is typically out of reach for an average person. So like our matchmaking service is much, much more affordable. But there is a price tag. And like if you just want something like casual, like just use a dating app at the end of the day. But if you are looking for something serious, and then you use matchmaking. And a lot of our customers have already been married before. They're widowed, they're divorced. I mean, we had a client who is 96 years old. So
I saw that on your LinkedIn. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So all different. It's kind of like, yeah, like all different it's interesting. It's like we definitely cater to, I would say, an older audience, but we do have younger, like JSwipe, for example, is a younger dating app. So we have clients in their 30s to as old as late 90s.
I love that. What are some things that you have found successful to help grow your list of clients? Are there certain marketing pieces back when you were starting out that you're like, this was very successful for us to get the word out?
Yeah, I mean, I think just sharing experiences is so valuable. Like sharing our successes, like testimonials is so, so valuable. So like at Filteroff, we ran a lot of ads to highlight a lot of our successes, but then we also got a good amount of PR as well, where journalists highlight our successes. So like, yeah, I think it's important to share your story and be authentic to what you are, and also share what you're not, and kind of just like own what you're all about. And then people kind of like have a good idea of like, do they trust you? Because at the end of the day, like a lot of it comes down to trust. Like, do they trust the brand? Do they, like on our side, like, do they trust that dating specialist that they speak to before they make the sale? So like a lot of it's relationship based at the end of the day.
Right. I love that you brought up trust, because to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I would think that it's not just trust of you, but it's trust of the person they're thinking about meeting through the app. How much has video helped with the trust factor?
Yeah, I mean, typically older users are much more skeptical of like scams, because typically that's where people go after people that are 65 plus. That's like the sweet spot, unfortunately, and it's awful. And video really does help with that, again, because like unfortunately there's so many romance scams, and they build a relationship all over text, and people get scammed of tens of thousands of dollars. And if you could just go on video, the likelihood is much, much lower, because the person will never go on video to show who they really are.
Well, I don't know how you could still scam that way. I mean, like that's a quick recipe for getting busted.
Well, it's a good point too. There's no hiding.
Right.
You can't hide behind a fake avatar or anything like that. You have to expose yourself, right? And there's a little bit of trust in that process where I'm putting myself out there by clicking on the camera, because most people, I don't know how many meetings I've been on where people won't put on their cameras and they're in the dark talking to you, and it's just so uncomfortable. But there is that goes into it as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's just like when you go face to face with someone, I would imagine it would be much harder to do something that like feels wrong. Like if it's behind like over text, sometimes you don't even realize like I mean it's a human, but like it's probably easier for scammers to scam versus like face to face. Like it's a totally different experience. Like
Right.
we're human at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I am probably one of the 7 people that have watched the new series, The Paper, which is like the spinoff from The Office.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I mean, I don't think anybody even realizes it's out, much less has watched it, according to the ratings I'm reading. It's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. Anyway, I'm committed to it. I'm going to finish it just because I have a need for completion. But the point is that in one of the episodes, maybe 3 or 4, this kind of jerk coworker um, is being scammed, and everybody in the office knows it. And they're doing an article in the newspaper about it. And she proves that it's not a scam by showing a video from her boyfriend. Well, it's Josh Holloway, the actor from Lost. And it's obvious that the scammer has used Cameo to hire Josh to record this video. And I mean, it is actually a funny moment. And I'm just thinking, the video thing is brilliant. They obviously got the storyline from y'all because using the video in dating is exactly the way to market what I think is so important with authenticity and real of knowing who you're getting. And so I love that.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
I,
we
I don't know
talk a
how
lot.
old, I don't know how old is Josh. It's a third reference. Lost is a show that came out in the 90s, Josh, and it was about this plane that crashed and
Josh, I need you to watch more TV. I mean, Zach, I need you to watch more TV because then you would know Josh
I know, I
Holloway.
I
just said
do
Josh.
I
I
do
know.
remember Lost. I do
Okay, good.
remember. I'm
All
not
Good.
right.
Thank
that
you. Thank
I'm
you.
35. I'm not that young.
Yeah. Yeah, we just obviously I'm realizing that we make a lot of pop culture references that are incredibly dated, Michael. We are
I
going to need to
know.
work on our patter a little bit
I
more.
know.
It's not good for us. So Zach, talk to me a little bit about how you have kind of developed over the years. Like, what's next? Do y'all continue to improve the products you have? Do you grow new ones? What's the thought process on that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like the matchmaking service, there's so much human, like the human is so important. Like the human matchmakers are a product. If you hire matchmakers that are not very good, like they'll reflect on the service. So
Right.
and they're also doing a lot of work behind the scenes, a lot of administrative tasks. Like it's just like and it's like how do you think about like around automations and AI and efficiency? So it's exciting. I think we're in a time where like things have just gotten so incredibly intelligent where you could take a human out of a lot of the the process. However, I do believe matchmaking there is something really special having that human element. That's what people are paying for. They want to work with a human. But now you're seeing other apps come out, like that AI matchmaking apps that come out that are I think are very cool that are being rolled out. I don't think they're very good.
Yet.
Personally, I've tried them, but yeah, so it's just exciting times around efficiency, around AI, just like, but around this like really difficult thing to solve, which is like for relationships and dating, like it's so complicated. It's not just like bring two people together. It's like again, so many things have to align.
Right. No, really. So I know you've built a lot in your career, right? Blog, subreddit, filter off, and now the position you have with Spark and kind of the way you're continuing to grow. What are some of those early entrepreneurial missteps that you look back and think, man, that was costly? What are some of those frustrations that kind of held you back and how'd you come through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the things like the mistakes I made, quote unquote, like kind of have to take it as like a learning. Whether it's early on, I ran a company called Begin You. It connected college students to student startups. Didn't have the best co-founder, like, and that was difficult. Like if you go into work with someone who sees things differently than you, or like maybe integrity is not there, you're really going to be screwed at the end of the day, and your company probably won't work out. So like whether it's co-founders or whether it's things about sales and marketing, I've learned how to now drive, like I've learned a lot about conversion marketing over the last 2 years and call funnels and um, just a lot of things that like corporate companies do not do, that I've learned from like more of the uh, marketers, like online marketers. So like I think it's so important to just surround yourself with like really talented people. I built like big communities, and I've learned from people that were like incredible community builders. I used to run a mental health community. Um, so I learned a lot about community building. I've also hired people that were like totally the wrong hires, where it's like I sometimes delegated too quickly, where at the end of the day, if it's like super core to my business, I probably should have done it myself versus delegating it. Or I could have hired someone to teach me how they think about these things, and then I execute on it versus giving it to them and having them be responsible. Because at the end of the day, like especially for startups, like no one's gonna work harder than like the founders. And sometimes, yeah, it's important just to like hire someone, you learn that skill, and then you do it yourself.
Right. No, absolutely. What's the line for you in hiring? What do you look for? What's your goal? How do you know when they're a good fit, pun intended, as an employee?
Yeah, hiring is very difficult.
It's the worst.
And I mean, I think there's a few things. For one, like obviously I have to be, well, it depends on what you're hiring for. So like, for example, when I hire matchmakers, all I care about is just like someone who is a great at what they do. And oftentimes now I'm in a pretty good position where we have like 9 matchmakers on our team. So like a lot of it's referrals and word of mouth. So like if a few of them are like, this person was great or this person is not very good, like you listen to that.
Right.
Um, but also like when I talk to them, I kind of put myself in the shoes of like a client. Like, do I, and again, it's just one person, but like, do I feel comfortable with them? Like, do I trust them? Like, because again, matchmaking is very human. But like when you hire someone in marketing, like I've hired people in the marketing fields before, like it's difficult. But I think once you do it yourself, then you could ask better questions and you could kind of see how they go about it. Because if you're very like, if you don't really know the topic and how to kind of go about it, like let's say you've never run Facebook ads and like you're hiring an ad manager, an ad buyer, like they could just BS you. And it's not that hard to be a decent ad buyer. So like same sort of thing. Like you may not just ask the right sorts of questions. And that's why I think it's so important to like learn a lot of the skills yourself. So then you can apply it. Obviously, can't always do that, but yeah, hiring's hard. But if you hire the wrong person, just try to like let them go as quickly as possible. That's so important. And then also I think it's good to kind of like maybe just like have them start with contract work to see if it's a good fit. So it's like super simple. If you want to part ways, you could do like a month contract or a 3 month contract to see if both parties like each other. But yeah, hiring is hard. And what I've also learned is hiring, if you hire the wrong person, it could literally destroy a company as well. So like, I think it's so important. It's so important to hire well.
Whenever I have a question. Whenever you got involved with Spark, was that a hard decision for you to make, as far as it not being just your sole property and your sole decision maker, or is that an easy process that allowed you to grow in ways that maybe you couldn't have on your own?
Yeah, I would say more so the latter. I was
Mhm.
like, the size of the database was so attractive for me, and it was like I was working a lot. Like I was at that point, like towards the end, I got our ads to be profitable. We were doing really well. but I was doing all the sales calls. I was running all the ads, doing all the marketing, but it was going really well. But I also didn't really have a life, and like it wasn't sustainable. And like, yeah, I saw this as like we could skip a number of steps by partnering with a company that's just much larger than ourselves.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. No, absolutely. I think it's fascinating. And as we're talking about it, I guess, I get it. Looking for clients and clients looking for an agency, matchmaking, employees looking for a job, matchmaking, dating, spouse or partner or someone to hang out with and have fun, match. It really is all about how we see ourselves and present ourselves to other people and how we see them, because that's what allows us to know that we're in the right company. We're talking to like-minded people, and but you can't be exactly alike. Michael and I are pretty big opposites in lots of ways, but not the fundamental stuff. And so how much do you think that the video aspect allows people to get through the BS and get to the real? Is it to shave months off, hours off, weeks, years? I mean, like that's got to speed up the process of getting to know somebody, right?
Yeah. I like with texting, it's so fake now, and like you could use ChatGPT to help you like craft good texts. So
Right.
it's like the beauty of video, it's like it's synchronous.
Mhm.
So can't really like use an assistant to help you. So they'll see you and kind of get an idea of who you are. With us, we do these 10-minute intros because if it's longer than 10 minutes, we've experienced, and you're not a good fit with a person, like
Right.
it's frustrating. You're not going to end the call. You're going to wait until the timer ends.
Right.
However, like, yeah, so, but if you like them, it's like, okay, I definitely like this person. And then what we often see is when people end the call and they both decide that they like each other, we exchange information. Oftentimes they'll just like jump on a phone call or do another FaceTime and then meet up in person. So yeah, I think video, again, it's not as perfect as like face to face, but it's so much better than texting, but it's so much more efficient than face to face. So I feel like it's
Right.
just a great like starting point to see if you like that person to take it to the next level, which would be in our case an in-person date.
Right. No, I think it's brilliant on so many levels. And it's got to be probably minutes until everybody's going to start trying to rip you off because it's brilliant. And to me, it checks a lot of the boxes that keep people from using online dating. That problem is now solved. So I think it's brilliant. Are you working on introducing it across the family of companies, or is that staying in the original app that you built it for?
Yeah, I mean, I know right now like it's still on Filteroff, or now it's called Spark app. In
Right.
terms of other properties, they don't have that. Um, And then in terms of matchmaking across all of our properties, we have those video introductions. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, that is
I'm
awesome.
obviously a proponent to have it everywhere. But
Yes.
so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah.
No, that is great.
Whenever you
So,
do jump on an app, how much a call? How much do they know going into the call? Have they seen pictures? Have they had a bio? Have they had any interactions before that initial video conference?
Yeah. So the matchmaker will share information with the client as well as the prospect about the other. In terms of photos, some people are okay with blind dates. Again, like once you reveal photos, sometimes people are like, oh, it's not my type, I'm not interested. But oftentimes if they went on that date, they it would have been fine. So we try to encourage them to do a blind date. However, if they want to see the photo, we won't like withhold it. And there are some matchmaking companies that only do blind dates and it's in person, which is like, in my opinion, just like not the best formula. So like again, I really want to like we just wanted to make a matchmaking service that was like efficient and that made sense and that made sense financially as well. So that was kind of like what I'm proud to say that we've built. So yeah.
No, that's fantastic. How many video dates at this point, guesstimate, have you facilitated?
I mean, millions at this point, like across from Filter Off. We've been doing it since like 2019. So like, I mean, we've created so many marriages. We created
Right.
marriages across different continents. We were covered in the New York Times for some of our marriages. Like, even with matchmaking, our matchmakers get these messages like, "Hey, I'm only now dating this person." We had this woman in her 70s. They did similar like an engagement ring. They met through our matchmaking service, so it's like amazing. Like the amount of like partnerships. Sometimes people that are older don't remarry, but like
Sure.
they'll be partners or like the marriages and the babies we've created. So yeah,
I think that counts.
it's been cool. Yeah.
That is awesome. So you mentioned the older couple. I think I saw one on your maybe on your LinkedIn that was like in their 80s. You mentioned somebody in their 90s. That's awesome. But when it comes down to it, what are some of the other kind of crazy meet stories that you've heard over the years?
I mean, during the pandemic, I remember there was this couple, one was in the US and one was in Africa, and they just video dated. They met through our service and they video dated and they met a few times each other and then they ended up getting married and they sent us photos from the wedding and they showed us like the African wedding and like the African garb and it was just like so crazy. It's like they would have never met, like zero
Right.
possibility anywhere else. So it's like
Right.
just a crazy way to connect over video.
I
I
don't know if you,
can't, that's got to be the most miles. Like that's huge.
well, on
Yeah.
a total side, unrelated, kind of related, unrelated. We were in London last month and 2 months back, and it was 10:30 at night. It was, it wasn't late, and a show came on, and it was I don't know what it was called, naked matchmaking, naked dating, or something like that. But it was so they had somebody that was fully clothed, and it was them, and then they had three contestants, like it was a guy looking for three girls or opposite, and they were all buck naked. And they revealed them from the toes up. So you didn't see their face until the very end. So you saw the body and it was full on nudity. Like I don't know what their standards are in London. I never would have seen that in the States. If you did, it would have been all blurred out. But it was
Yeah.
full on, full frontal
Okay.
nudity. And I'm
So
watching
for
this.
people listening, I need to set a few things straight. One, the show is called Naked Attraction. Here in the States, it's on HBO. And I
Okay,
think Michael's expressing his shock because it was on like Channel 4. It was on just like a regular network show, and it was at 8 o'clock at night. So like the kids are still up. Carry on.
yeah, no, it was just shocking though. It seemed like a really, and then they go on a date after and all that stuff. So typical kind of dating game scenario. But I thought it was an odd way of approaching that situation. I just don't know if it's right for everybody.
Trying to get those views, definitely appealing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
At least to tune in and watch on TV.
For sure. And Michael's right. You know, there's a screen. They're standing behind the screen. And so the screen slowly lifts from the bottom. So you see their feet and then you see their knees. And so as questions are asked and answered, you never see their face. I don't think. I mean, I may have fallen asleep
At the
by the
very
end.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you're just like, so when we talk about seeing people in person and judging them, there's judgment of different things than maybe the criteria I'm looking for on a regular basis when I was dating. Like, yeah, it was it was interesting. And most people are not attractive when naked, I think was my takeaway from the show. Michael, was that also your takeaway?
That was in this particular episode. Yes, it was quite alarming. But
Yes.
anyway,
Zach is very
um,
uncomfortable right now. I think we've crossed a line.
I know. Sorry,
All
sorry, Zach.
good, all good.
Okay. All right.
We're talking about dating. Like
Yeah, I know. I
this
don't know
is
that
what
I
you
would have.
talk about. An
That's
interesting
true.
industry.
Well, and it's
True.
part of, you talked about like having the uncomfortable things where it doesn't work out. That's all part of our stories and our histories. We all have that, right? I mean, it's part of the, until you find the one, or even when you find the one and then it doesn't work out too. It's about those connections and going through that experiences that makes us kind of as part of our story, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Live and learn.
Absolutely. Zach, I'm just looking at the clock and realizing we've been together for almost an hour, and I don't understand how time flies by so quickly. Um, Please tell the people how to find you so they can follow you and continue to see the things you're going to do next.
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Zach Schleien. on Instagram, Zach08590 on TikTok, Zach Schleien. If you're interested in matchmaking, you go to spark.com/matchmaking, or you could go on any of those sites, JDate, and you'll see like matchmaking.jdate.com. So we're available on all those sites now. And yeah, if you ever have any questions about how it works or dating in general, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Man, that's awesome. Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
When the day is through.